Ciao again.
In this video, we're going to be talking about our trip to Rome.
Hey guys, I'm Paul.
And I'm Bea.
And this is Everything is Boffo. We're going to talk about how many days we spent there, the cost of the flights,
The hotels that we stayed at, what we did, and what food we ate, which I think is the most important part.
all of this coming up right after the intro.
So if you're new to our channel, we live here in Spain, and one of the advantages of living in Europe is that traveling within Europe is actually very inexpensive, especially if you're traveling off-season. Some of the flights can be anywhere from 15 or 20 euros one way.
That is if you know how to pack properly.
Right, meaning no carry-on, just with a backpack, and you can enjoy maybe 4 or 5 days in a different city under 100 euros round trip.
So now let's talk about Rome.
So last year we went to Rome twice actually. We went in July on a whim. So there were still tickets that were quite economical for a last minute flight. It wasn't the cheapest, but as you know, Rome is a very famous city. And then also we went back in December, which was nicer. It was less expensive for a lot of things that we had to do. And also the weather was nicer. It was cooler. It was not super cold. But because it was cold, packing was also a challenge because we only brought underseat luggage or like underseat bags. But we also had coats and thermal wear and all of that.
And I had to wear all of the big ones on me.
Yeah, the bulky sweater.
Yeah.
And
So in
like
the plane,
a
I was
coat,
just
yeah.
like this.
For the July trip, we stayed for 5 days and 4 nights. And for the December trip, we went with his parents and we were there for 4 days, 3 nights. Just to kind of compare the pricing, as I mentioned earlier, for the July flight, just for 2 people with only underseat luggage, we paid 269 euros round trip to cover both of us. So 269 for 2 people. And then for the December flight, and this was booked around maybe a month before we had to go, something like that. It wasn't booked far in advance, but the difference, it was only 455 euros for 4 people with round trip with just the underseat bag. So 269 or 270 versus 455, I think it was definitely cheaper to travel during December.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Rome is beautiful no matter what time of the year, but yeah, it's way cheaper. 455 divided by 4 is 90 bucks each.
No, about 112, 115.
Oh,
Okay, so how do you get out of Rome Airport? There is a Leonardo Express to Rome Termini train. It's a train that takes you all the way to the middle of Rome, and it's only about 30 minutes. It's 14 euros, and the only thing you need to remember is that you need to validate your ticket. And I believe that you have to buy tickets based on the time that the train is leaving. So it's not an open ticket where you can use it at any time. So for us, when we were trying to figure out the train schedules, we knew that we were not going to make the next train because we still had to walk to get to this Leonardo Express terminal. So we took the next one. And I think it's like just a 15-minute difference. But don't forget to validate the ticket. We had quite a time trying to validate it. We thought we had to tap it or something or insert it or whatever. So, but yeah, try to validate it, ask for help to do that. And then if you're traveling with a group, you can take advantage of the mini groups fare to purchase 4 tickets in a single transaction for the price of 40 euros instead of 56. This is definitely cheaper if there's only like 2 people, because the cost of a taxi in and out of Rome airport, even though it's flat rate, it's still a lot. I think it's around 50 euros, 50 to 60. And they only take cash. You can't pay by credit card. So moving on, be careful with the website for the Leonardo Express, because sometimes there are Leonardo Express websites that are not the official website. Go to trenitalia.com and that's where you can buy the tickets, or you can at least look at the train schedule. Be careful though, because some of the schedule is like it leaves earlier, but you arrive there after an hour instead of 30 minutes because there's a stop. So just make sure that you get the one that has a shorter duration.
Okay, so in July, so we stayed in 2 hotels. The one in July, as soon as we arrived, we tried to figure out where it was.
Because we thought it was a hotel.
Yeah. And it turns out, well, so when we found the address, we called, right? We called the girl, or did we buzz it in or something?
I think we buzzed it in, yeah.
So as soon as we walked in, we were a little confused because, you know, it really looked like offices, and it turns out it was an apartment. It was an office wing in an apartment building. So you walk in and there's like a tiny hallway, and then you see like different rooms that look like former offices. We were received by this lady at the reception area, and she didn't speak a lot of English, so we panicked a little bit. But then I'm like, oh, maybe, I think you said like, do you speak Spanish? And then she said, yes, I speak Spanish. So we started talking in Spanish with her, so that helped a lot.
So I think that's the name. The name of this hotel is Residenza Cola di Rienzo, Suite in Rome. So I'm thinking residenza might mean residences, so that's probably why. It's not like a hotel building, it's just really one floor of the apartment building that has small rooms in there.
And then so as soon as we settled in, usually we check like for bed bugs and all of these things, and then I go to the bathroom to check the flush, and then I see the shower. And I can barely fit in the shower. It's so small. Like I don't want to give you a visual of how I shower in there, but I can't go lower. I have to be standing up, and I can't even, reach in my back, and because I'm gonna elbow the shower. It was just really, really small. So that was a challenge.
So, but I mean, it was safe. It was really, I would say it was quite expensive, because for what it was, because it wasn't a hotel. But I mean, the other people staying there never bothered us. They were all probably also on vacation. And that one cost 485 for 4 nights for 2 people. And then December came, and this one was a lot nicer. We stayed in a place in Trastevere, which is a nice area. It has a lot of coffee shops and bars and restaurants, and it's very nice to walk around at night, and it's very connected to everything. It's close to the river, and once you cross it, you're in another nice area as well. So I really like this one, not just the location, but the look of this apartment, because it is actually good for 4 people. It is an apartment looking, or an Airbnb looking thing, but we booked it through hotels.com, and it had a sofa bed in the living room. It had a kitchen, a dining table, it had a bathroom downstairs, and then upstairs there was another bathroom and another bed on the loft. So for us and for his parents, it was a nice, good size, and we only had to pay 513 for 3 nights for 4 people.
Yeah, that's not bad. And I remember...
It's really pretty too.
Yeah, it's really pretty, very modern looking. I wish we took video of it. I forgot to film it, but...
What?
Yeah, I didn't film it. But I remember we had a problem with the heating of the water or something, and I just reached out to them on WhatsApp, and immediately they just did the video call and we fixed it right then and there. So even the service is great.
Yeah. The only thing is, again, there's no reception for this one. They just email you with a code so that you can get into the building and into the room. But you can tell them if you need anything. You just have to communicate with them, I think, through an app or through WhatsApp, right? Do they have their own app or something like that?
I think it's just the WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, yeah. But that's the only way that you can get any help. I mean, overall, it's still a very nice, pleasant stay. But normally, like when we stay in a hotel and there's a concierge, we like talking to the concierge to ask like what's good around here, where should we go? You know, we ask for recommendations. So that was kind of like the only thing that was missing. But otherwise, it was a nice day.
Yeah, it was easy because they just gave us the code for the building and then
a code for the room.
Yeah, so it was great.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like it was our second time in Rome, so it wasn't too bad. We already knew where we wanted to go, what we wanted to see.
So getting around was pretty easy. You could pretty much walk everywhere. The only difference compared to Valencia is that there's more cobblestone streets. So it kind of gets a little exhausting after a while when you're walking because it's not...
They're uneven.
Yeah, they're uneven. So you could take the bus. There's a bus system that's great. You could ride from the back, right?
Yes, you can enter either from the front of the bus or the back of the bus.
And you could pay with Apple Pay, I remember.
Yes, it's a contactless payment system. It is in your credit card statement, it's going to show up as ATAC, which is their bus system, and you get 100 minutes for each tap. So meaning if you tap, you have 100 minutes, and if you ride another bus within those 100 minutes, that next one is free, but you still have to tap again. It just won't be charged.
Just one thing to note is as soon as you get in the bus, make sure you hold on because they are keeping with their schedule. So they're very tight with their schedule. So they're as soon as everyone's in, they just start going. And the cars there's a lot of cars there also, so it kind of is hard to maneuver. So there's going to be a lot of braking, so just make sure you hold on.
Right, it's like Manila traffic, and the thing that's different is that in Valencia, the buses are kings, right? Like you cannot cut them off. They have their own lane. There are some turns that are only allowed for buses and taxis that normal cars can't turn into. There are lanes that they can't turn into. Whereas in Rome, they're sharing the lanes with other cars. So they really try to get ahead of the cars. So yeah, and the drivers are very aggressive too. Like they cut off the buses. And then with the tap system as well, with the contactless payment, it only works one credit card per person. So for example, if there's two of you, you need to have two different credit cards. It's not gonna tap twice. We tried. And make sure that you do tap and pay, because sometimes there are people who inspect or check if you've validated or if you've paid for your fare. And if you get caught, it's 50 euros per person, as opposed to €1.50. So yeah, don't mind the other people because you'll see them they hop on the bus and then they don't tap or do anything. They don't validate, nothing. They just go on the bus. Those probably have monthly passes. That's why they don't need to tap anything. But yeah, so don't follow that. Just go ahead and pay for your fare.
Yeah, I'd rather spend just the $1.50 every time than getting caught.
Right. There's also a metro system that operates the same way. So the subway system is the same, where you can tap. The problem with the subway is that it is not handicap friendly for each metro stop. So not all stops have escalators, not all stops have elevators. And when we were traveling with Paul's mom, she cannot go up the stairs. So we had to either stop one stop after, which would make it a 20-minute walk to our destination, because the next stop was disabled friendly. I don't even know how to say it,
They have an elevator.
Wheelchair accessible. The next stop was wheelchair accessible, but our stop wasn't. So I went there and I talked to the station manager to say, hey, my mom can't go up the stairs. Can we use the wheelchair access? And he goes and he
which is like this lift.
Yeah, it's like a
lift on the side of the stairs.
Right. And he goes, but where's her wheelchair? I go, she doesn't have one because she doesn't need one. She just can't get up the stairs. So he goes, then she can't go up the stairs. I go, then what? Don't you have a wheelchair? And he goes, yes, he does. So he goes to the storeroom to get that wheelchair. And then she had to get on the wheelchair first. It was such a very, very
took
long
about 30 minutes
process. Yeah, because he had to rope off that area so that people don't go up and down those stairs, while she's going up these stairs. And there were 2 flights of stairs that were like that. So they had to do it again for the next one. And it was scary for her too. She was really scared because she had to ride on alone, right?
Yeah.
So she felt like she was in a roller coaster.
She looked like she was in a roller coaster.
Yeah. So, it's not wheelchair accessible. Not all the stops are wheelchair accessible. You have to actually look at the line to see which one there has like a wheelchair sign. If you see that, that's the stop where you can, when there's probably an elevator or an escalator.
So now let's talk about the free activities that we did. You can go to the Trevi Fountain.
And then you can also visit a lot of the Italian squares that they have.
Well, one of my favorites was called Piazza Navona.
Then you can also go look at all of the churches you can enter for free.
You could also go to St. Peter's Basilica, which is by the Vatican. And all you have to do is, there's like a line that you follow. You just go, fall in line, and then you're gonna get an entry for free. So one thing to note is that they won't allow you if you have a sleeveless shirt.
Or short shorts.
Yeah.
Or short skirts, because you are entering a church. So for a lot of the churches that you enter, make sure that you are covered up or you have a cover up with you.
So as soon as you get into St. Peter's Basilica, it was just jaw-dropping. I couldn't even explain it. It was just, everything was huge, and everything we saw in the magazines, in the encyclopedias when we were growing up. Yeah, we're that old. we have encyclopedias.
Not me. I don't have one.
So everything we saw in the books, we saw in person, and
pales in comparison. Yeah, it's really pretty. It's like what he said. It's huge. All of the marble statues and carvings, and there were popes that were interred there, so you can actually some of the popes laying there. So that was actually that was very like, wow, we're really in the seat of Catholicism.
Right. And they were also organizing masses. I just don't know what time in the day, but I think it's daily they do the masses there. So for the public. And then you get to see, on the second time we were there, they had a manger, what do you call that? A manger display. Also,
because it was Christmas.
Because it was Christmas.
And of course, like general sightseeing, if you walk around Rome, you'll see a lot of like old buildings. And there was one that was atop of a mountain that our friend Grace took us. So she had a car and she lived in Rome, and she picked us up at night, and we walked all the way up so that we could see like the view from Rome. And then also there was one where you could see, I mean this is probably super Instagram already to death, the one where there's a keyhole and then you can see the Vatican from there. Is that right?
You can see something.
Right.
I just don't remember.
Yeah,
which one.
so we'll but you know what we're talking about. So there's a lot of like free things that you can do while sightseeing. It helps if you go by car for some of them. Like for that one, we had to go up the hill.
And of course, probably the coolest free thing that we've done there is something that she coordinated, which is the audience with the Pope. I was surprised it was free.
Yeah, so that one happens, I think, once a month. So you just have to, if that's something you want to do, you have to make sure that your trip aligns with the audience with the Pope. And you just have to email them a few weeks before to tell them that I want an audience with the Pope and, for this date. And I went to pick up the invitations the day before. And you go into this little side of the Vatican, I think, where you pick up your tickets. And then I was nice enough to tell them, like, my mother-in-law is here with me. She is super excited. We're all excited to meet the Pope. And, we're so happy. And they go, well, if you're, I think they felt my excitement. So they go, okay, well, once you get there, or go there a little early, they said go there an hour before or something like that, there's an aisle. And the best thing to do would be to sit by that aisle. So you don't have to necessarily be at the very, very front, but be by that aisle because the Pope goes down that aisle at the end. So you'll actually be closer to him. So when we went, because it was December, it was off season, so we just went straight through. We didn't have to show our tickets because the place was not filled at all. So we were there and we were not able to get seats on the aisle, but we were able to get seats two chairs away from the aisle.
Yeah, maybe
right?
2 or 4 chairs.
Right.
Or
Just 2. Yeah, just 2. And then afterwards, we go by the aisle, and he has an official photographer. So the official photographer is there with him, so that when he's by the aisle, he's actually taking a picture of the Pope and you. So, right? So I was there, and here's my picture. It was very exciting, but I was like screaming at him because he had a birthday a few days before. So I'm like screaming, Feliz cumpleaños! But he didn't look at me.
Because he was looking at the children.
The children.
Because people were
like,
bringing the
kids to
out.
them. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not a very religious person or at all. But it was still a very nice experience. I think he's
a celebrity.
It's just a nice way to meet, the Pope. I think he's the coolest Pope out there. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and then they said that they take you can actually buy these pictures afterwards, like the day after. So that's what we did. We went to the photo lab which was inside the Vatican. So this had like guards and all that. So we had to tell them, like, I want to go to the photo lab so I can select my picture. And you have to make sure that you have a few days after you meet the Pope, because the pictures are not ready, I think, until the next day in the morning. And then like for us, we got there at closing time. So I was only able to like look through, and then once I found ours, we had like 2 minutes to place our order, right?
Yeah.
And then we still had to go back for them the next day,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So all in all, that's already like 3 days, right? So make sure that either you go early in the morning to get those photos printed so you can come back for them the same day, or if you're there super late, like, you make sure that you can pick them up the next day. So typically when we go on vacation, I'm the one who books the tickets for the plane and for the hotel. I just ask him, like, what does he think? But normally it's really up to me. But the trade-off is that he has to plan the activities for the days. So these are the paid activities that we did, that he was in charge of.
And thanks to Get Your Guide, they organize everything for you. So all I had to do was type in Rome and then list of activities, and then I started to choose. So one of the activities that we booked was a tour of the Colosseum and the Palatine Hill.
Right.
Which was great because, just like what we said earlier, you just see these in books and in the internet, and seeing it in person is just so amazing. So it was such a fun experience. We had to walk around. So when we get into the Colosseum, we were outside first, just enjoying everything and learning about how it used to have marble. It was great. It was great information. So it used to have red marble, and then we go inside, and then they have remnants of the old Like, right? Samples.
I don't remember if it was red. I know red marble is expensive, but I don't know if that was used.
Yeah, but they were saying outside was like
but
marble.
it used to be all marble.
Yeah.
That was a cool trivia.
And then another tour that we got, which we did twice, was the Vatican tour, because we wanted to see the Vatican.
And the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah. So I feel like the first tour of the Vatican was different from the other
so the
tour,
so the first time that we entered the Vatican and Sistine Chapel in July was just the two of us, and we were there with a tour group, and that took maybe 2 hours.
Right, because they took us to, like, the first station we went to was like where the Pope mobiles were, where all the cars of the popes were, and then they took us to like just different levels
of the Vatican.
Yeah,
My favorite was the map room, and that was a little bit before we entered the Sistine Chapel. So all in all, that was about 2 hours, and I'm glad that we did that first, because the second time we went, we just got entry tickets. We didn't go on a tour because we knew that Paul's mom wouldn't be able to walk too much and will need breaks, so she won't be able to keep up with a tour, especially not without a wheelchair. So we just went and got entrance tickets, but because it was in December, it was easier to get that. For a lot of the activities that we did during the summer in July, we had to buy tour tickets because all of the regular just entrance tickets were all sold out.
And the most important tour we've had in Rome was the food tour. It's called the street food tour, and you guys have got to, because not only do you get to taste traditional Roman food, you also get to, it's a walking tour also, so you get to know the history of these districts, like the Jewish district and the flower district and all these districts. So I really highly advise to get all those tours, but don't skip on the food tour because it's Rome.
Yeah, and aside from that, when we came back to Rome, we actually visited the same places because we liked the food so much, except for the fried artichoke. I didn't like that too much. But the rest of the places that we tried, we actually went again to the same places to get that supli and that pistachio cornetto and all of these things. So yeah, it's definitely a must do when you're in Rome.
My parents were lucky that we got the food tour already, so that when we went back, we already knew where to go.
So the must-try foods, of course, amatriciana, carbonara, cacio e pepe. Those are good, like pasta options that we thoroughly enjoyed.
I really like the pistachio cornetto. The fried artichoke, I liked because it was different, but it's okay for me to not eat it again. But also the gelato there is really good.
And then when you have coffee, get a croissant with like a pistachio filling. Oh God, it's really good. And then for the places that really stuck out to us in terms of like restaurants, Antico Forno Roscioli is where we got the supli and the pistachio cornetto, and those were both to die for. It was so good. Even Paul's mom was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, she doesn't walk, but she wanted to go back there again.
She was sprinting towards that place. But when I was on our first trip to Rome, I was researching on places to eat at, and of course, gelato you have to try. And I discovered that there's this gelato place that's the best one from all the bloggers. That's what they've been suggesting. It's called Gelateria La Romana, and it turns out there's a couple of branches here in Valencia. So I was just like, maybe we should just try it out. And then, true enough, you go there and it is one of the most authentic ones. They actually have different flavors there in Rome than here in Valencia. So if you're in Rome, yeah, you need to try that.
Another good place that we stumbled upon, this is close to the Vatican. This is right after we did the Vatican tour with his parents, and we were just looking around for a place to eat, and we stumbled upon Mama Eat Lab, and they had the best amatriciana I have ever had.
The best everything. Because I remember walking in and it looked like just a normal eatery with people, and they were ordering all these things. But then I think I remember looking through Google and listing down what I wanted to eat, and then I told my parents, and then that's what they ordered. So I pretty much ordered different
There was
dishes.
like a pistachio pizza or something like that,
Yeah.
wasn't there? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Pistachio everything.
So good. Another food spot that we really enjoyed was recommended to us by our friends Jen and Joe, and it's called Pim's Good.
So the price for an Aperol Spritz or any cocktail is around 6 euros, but during happy hour the price changes to 8 euros, but then you also get a lot of food, or like tapas, I guess, that go with it. They're not called tapas, but appetizers that go with it. And then we also went there another time with his parents when we first arrived, and I had the carbonara, and it was amazing. Really, really good carbonara.
It was probably the best one we've had.
Yeah. So definitely can't miss Pim's Good.
And it's in the hip part of the city, which is Trastevere. So you get to people watch, and the place of that pub is right by a building that has it's just so Instagrammable, super pretty. So it's a really nice, authentic Roman experience.
You have ivy crawling up on the brick walls. It's really pretty.
Rome is definitely a must visit if it's going to be your first time or second time or third, because it's just there's so much things to see in this city that you're going to enjoy every time you visit.
So for the flights that we book, normally it does not allow carry-on, but for a 5-day trip, I think you can survive with just a backpack. I totally believe that you can do it. And I would recommend it because if you have a carry-on, remember that these are cobblestones from the 1700s. So they will ruin your wheels. We saw so many luggages with missing wheels, or we would see wheels on the ground.
Yeah.
Luggage wheels on the ground. And
they're just dragging their luggage. There are no wheels anymore.
yeah, it will ruin your luggage. And also, these cobblestones, when they get repaired, like if there's a road construction, they don't change it to cement or asphalt. They reconstruct it with more cobblestones. We saw like mounds of cobblestones that they put back into the streets. So the cobblestones are there to stay, and they are everywhere. So imagine that you're not just walking. So also don't bring heels, I guess, or like stilettos, because again, these are cobblestone paths that you're
Unless you're a pro.
Unless you're comfortable with that, sure, why not? But what I'm saying is that you will be not only walking on them, but if you have luggage, those luggages will also be like on them. And good pair of walking shoes. It's a walkable city, and it's very nice, especially at night. And along the river is also very nice. And then the weather. I mean, obviously, Europe is hot in the summer. Italy is no different. July was unbearably hot. We had to have sunscreen on, and I had a bucket hat on, and we had to shower around 3 times that day because we were just drenched in sweat every time. So imagine like we had an activity in the morning, and then we go back to the hotel and we shower, and then we siesta, and then we go back out, and then when we get home we shower again, and if we're out again then we have to shower again, so up to 3 times.
Yeah, and this was in the hotel that I could with the shower that I could barely fit in, so I looked like a potato in a blender. just And then again, we only had underseat
bags or backpacks with us actually. So we had to wash our underwear because we were gonna run out. We knew we were gonna run out pretty quickly because we were just constantly just showering and showering. Yeah, but we had to just wash out our underwear because otherwise we'll run out. And again, for December, we also just had backpacks. And even though we didn't have to wash our underwear this time around because we just showered the normal amount, there were still a lot of clothes or layers that we had to bring. So, you know, we had to make sure that we pack very well, and you could tell like our bags were filled to the brim because we had gloves, we had beanies as well. And then I had like a puffer jacket and thicker clothes. Everything was just thick. Anytime we travel, we usually try to learn a little bit of the language. It just makes it easier for us because everyone is a little bit more accommodating when they know that you are trying and you're being polite. So polite words. Per favore. You can go like this. Per favore, please, for please. Buongiorno or buonasera for good morning or good evening. Grazie mille when you want to say thank you. Say that properly.
Grazie mille. Grazie mille.
Okay. And then if you need to go to the toilet, you say toilet. And then for water, it's acqua.
So if you're asking for the check, you say il conto per favore.
And then for when you're out eating or drinking, tipping is not required. Keep that in mind. So maybe in a fancier restaurant, like a fine dining one, you can leave a few euros. But for a lot of these places, we don't normally like tip. So for data, we already had a plan with Lobster and with Orange. He has Orange, and both of those plans actually work anywhere in the EU. So we didn't have to do anything. We just kept our data plan and everything the way they were, and we had functioning data. For currency, we didn't have any problems either because it was in euros, but most of the time we always use Capital One anyway, which has no foreign transaction fees and also has no annual fee. We just have like the basic credit card. But you know, keep that in mind when you're traveling. If you're coming from another country or outside of the EU, get one that doesn't have foreign transaction fees. For shopping, we went across Trastevere, across the bridge, and there were a lot of stores there that had leather goods, and you can smell the leather. So that's basically what we did for souvenirs or gifts to our family, was pick out, you know, a small purse for the women. And for the men, we had leather goods, and they were anywhere from around 20 euros for real, genuine leather purses to around 30 or, you know, 50, 60 euros. So those were like really nice, cute souvenirs. Practical souvenirs. And then if you're shopping in bigger stores, for example, here in Spain, there's Zara. If you're shopping in big stores like that, see if they have Global Blue. Global Blue will give you tax-free shopping, meaning you have to show your passport, and then they will give you the money back once you leave the EU. So you have to look for a kiosk where you scan that barcode and then you get money back in your credit card. And then when you're in a big city like Rome, of course, like be mindful of your things, make sure that you're not laying things around. I wouldn't say that it's crime-ridden, but I would say that you have to be careful of pickpockets and scammers.
Yeah, fortunately, we haven't experienced it or seen anyone who has experienced it, because usually there's like a commotion when something's happening, but so we haven't seen anything. But you know, when you go on Instagram, you're gonna see like pickpocket and, you know, all these things. So just be cautious. Expect that there are going to be people who are going to try to do that to you. So just try to keep your valuables in your hotel room or something when you go out. Try not to bring a lot of jewelry and all of these things. But from our experience, it was a pretty safe city, even at night. Like when we were walking around at night, Rome is a very lively town. They like live music, they love socializing, so there's gonna be a lot of people in the streets even at the late hours of the evening. The one thing that I forgot to mention was the water is the coldest water you will ever drink, and it's just available on the street. Like, you can drink it from the fountain, from anywhere.
From the airport, yeah. It even says in the airport, like when you go to the bathroom, it says like the water is potable and it's cold.
That was probably one of the most unforgettable experiences of my life, because not only was it cold in December, but it was ice cold in July when we were there the first time in summer. It was just consistently cold. I don't know where it's coming from, but it tastes so clean. It's just
very refreshing water, and they're just free flowing anywhere. And there's a trick that you have to do if you wanna drink the water from the spout. So you just have to like cover the tap, and then there's another hole and just fountains to you. So I think I have video of him doing that.
Yeah, I have it.
So if you're already checked out of your Airbnb, or if your hotel cannot store your luggage for you, if you Google, you can find luggage storage very close to you. When in Trastevere, I think there were 5 that were available, so we just went to the closest one. And if I'm not mistaken, it was €5 per bag. So for just 20 bucks, somebody was there to mind our bags for us, and we can walk around a little bit more. And also, he called us a taxi for free.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he was a very nice gentleman. There's also a saying where only Rome is deserving of Paris and only Paris is deserving of Rome. And I really think that is very true, because Rome is equally beautiful with the river and the bridges there. And also, but I think also Rome is a lot cheaper in terms of the food and the drinks. So, I mean, if you're looking for a Paris alternative, but also still want to be somewhere that has a lot of major tourist attractions, I think Rome is the place to be.
So that's it. I hope this video helps out. Everything that we mentioned will be linked in the description below. Feel free to ask us any questions, or if you have any suggestions, because we're never gonna stop going back to the city, I promise you. So we'd love to get some recommendations as well.
Thank you for people who subscribe to our channel or keep up with us on Instagram, and
thanks to the people who buy us a coffee and give us super thanks. We really appreciate that.
And if you're interested in other travel videos or interested about our life in Spain, you should go visit our channel, watch other videos.
Ciao!
Grazie mille. Ciao.